Hello book lovers, welcome to Uncommon Reader. My name is Daniela, and in this video I'm going to share my favorite spots in the San Francisco Bay Area and two segments dedicated to the books I bought here and the books I rented at the local library. Enjoy and see you here in a bit. Today we decided to take a stroll at the Allied Art Guild in Menlo Park. Since 1929, Allied Art Guild has been a peninsula landmark and one of my favorite locations for family portraits when I used to work as a photographer in the San Francisco Bay Area. Since its inception, it has been a place for artists to come together and share their wares. Today, the Guild's artists use their studio not only for creating, but also as retail space for the public to view and purchase their beautiful art. Artists today range from jewelry, fashion, interior designers, and everything in between. The stunning gardens are beautiful to walk through, and docent-led tours are available Monday through Saturday. Docents discuss not only the gardens, but the history of the Guild and its art and architecture. The Guild Spanish architecture is designed by renowned architect Gardner Daly. Working closely with Pedro de Lemos, they designed red roof tiles, archways, courtyards, and wrought iron work of the Spanish colonial style. Many of the wrought iron pieces and details are still in use and visible in the buildings today. The complex is owned and operated by the Allied Art Guild Auxiliary. The mission is to raise funds to support uncompensated care at Lucille Packard Children's Hospital in Stanford. In addition to the shops, the Guild is also a perfect place to host a party, for a small baby shower, even to a wedding ceremony and reception. Allied Arts is conveniently located at the southern end of Menlo Park, near the Stanford Shopping Center. I'll leave the website link on the info box if you want more information. And when in Menlo Park, a visit at Kepler's Books is impossible to resist. Kepler's was founded in May 1955 by peace activist Roy Kepler. For over 69 years, Kepler's has been the intellectual and cultural hub of the San Francisco Peninsula. Kepler's is known for its outstanding literary events, knowledgeable staff, its broad selection of books and magazines, and for its deep ties to the community. Along with Cody's in Berkeley and City Lights in San Francisco, Kepler's led the paperback revolution in the San Francisco Bay Area in the 50s and 60s. 35-cent paperbacks were new on the scene, and Roy and his cohorts used this new format to pursue their mission of democratizing reading. The bookstore soon blossomed into a cultural epicenter, attracting a loyal following among beat intellectuals, pacifists, students, and faculty of Stanford University, and other members of the surrounding communities interested in serious books and ideas. The Grateful Dead performed at Kepler's early in their career, along with folk singer Joan Baez. So what did I buy during my California trip? Let's start with books. Although I didn't buy anything at Kepler's, I did some damage a few days before at Moe's in Berkeley, and they have a huge section of used books. Although I did buy 2 new books there, I couldn't resist. Let's find out. Let's leave this noisy bag on the floor. And I'm going to start with this woman that captured my heart just a few months ago, reading her biography, and it's Forough Farrokhzad. This is a precious, wonderful book, and I love the cover. Selected poems by Forough Farrokhzad. She was a poet, painter, screenwriter, and filmmaker, and is one of Iran's most venerated literary figures. She was born in 1934 and unfortunately died way too young in 1967. She published 4 collections of poetry in her lifetime. A 5th appeared after her death. I really enjoyed reading her biography. I'm going to leave the book title by Jasmine Datsnik, and of course it was a bit of fiction in there, but I think it captured very well the soul of Forough that I recognize in her style of writing. So this was not a used book. It cost us $16.95, but I really wanted to have something that belonged to Forough in my personal library. And then this is also a new book, $16. I couldn't resist this cover. This cover is brilliant, but the title as well. The Vegetarian by Han Kang was on my TBR for a long time. I've been hearing about this book and I've already started it. I think I'll finish it up during my flight back to Italy because I'm now taking time finishing up the rentals from the library. And it's kind of disturbing, but nonetheless very well written, and we'll talk more about it when I'm done with the read. I also found, this wasn't bought at the mall, but in a used books store in San Jose, where also they have a really big selection. I leave the name of the bookstore right here in the caption because I don't remember it right now. And the author is Jhumpa Lahiri, which I loved in The Namesake, which I read many years ago. And this is a title, The Lowland, that I've never heard of, so I jumped and bought it, and it was $7 used. And The Lowland is an engrossing family saga steeped in history, the story of 2 very different brothers bound by tragedy, a fiercely brilliant woman haunted by her past, a country torn apart by a revolution, and a love that endures long past death, moving from 1960s to the present, and from India to America, and across generations. This dazzling novel is Jhumpa Lahiri at the height of her considerable powers. So I look forward to read this book because I'm a fan of family sagas, and when they're also making you travel around the world, it's sort of irresistible for me. So now, before I show you my last book purchase, I'm going to show, because there's a reason why, I'm going to show you other objects and book accessories. I don't know, I just fell in love with this bag. It's not hoarding if it's book, right? Yeah, so this has become my bag, my handbag of choice during these days in California. And then I bought these sponges, and I found out they were sold in Barnes and Noble, so I think they're adorable. Of course, I'm not going to use it at home. I'm just going to display them somewhere. Moby Dish, Pride and Prejudice, and the sponge also rises. So such adorable little gadgets. I also bought another bag. I don't have it here, from Barnes and Nobles. Maybe I'll add a photo right here, because now it's time to show you my last purchase at Moe's, which is The Assassination Bureau by Jack London. And this was actually the first ever mystery and only mystery wrote by Jack London. Although he didn't finish this book, he abandoned it, and then after his death, another person, and along with Jack's widow, Charmian, finished it up. But he wrote 20,000 words from this book. And I do want to read a passage from this book that actually caught my attention and inspired me to buy the book. Ivan Dragomilov, founder and mastermind of the secret assassination bureau, signs his own death warrant and sets off a lethal cat-and-mouse game, pitting himself against the very organization of ruthless killers he created to rid the state of its most pernicious enemies. Jack London's unfinished suspense thriller, completed by Robert L. Fish and first published in 1963, eerily foreshadowed the conspiracy theories surrounding the assassination of President Kennedy. And the New York Times Book Review writes about this book. The book is one unified delight, the grandest thriller in years. So too bad it didn't finish, but I'm definitely looking forward to read the 20,000 words that Jack London put into this book. And speaking of Jack London, yes, I made it back to Jack London Happy Ranch. So let's see some of the footage from there and perhaps some more footage from the San Francisco Bay Area. And I'll see you back here for the final unveiling of my library rentals and our final goodbyes. I am back, Jack. I'm so happy to return to Jack's Beauty Ranch, now known as the Jack London State Historic Park. The park is located approximately an hour and a half north of San Francisco in Glen Ellen, the Sonoma County, between the towns of Sonoma and Santa Rosa. After Jack London died in 1916, his wife Charmian inherited the property and lived there until her death in 1955. 39 acres, including the House of Happy Walls, Wolf House, and the grave site, were gifted to the state of California in 1959. In 1979, the state purchased an additional 756 acres, including the cottage and the ranch outbuildings. In 2001, 600 acres of Sonoma Developmental Center land, including the historic orchard, were transferred to the park. Today, the park encompasses approximately 1,570 acres. In 1960, the property was declared a California Historical Landmark and dedicated as a state park. It was made a National Historic Landmark in 1962. All the sites at Jack London State Historic Park are kept in pristine state, and the volunteers are all quite knowledgeable and take great pride in Jack's legacy. He experimented with farming and was probably the first ever organic farmer. I'm truly enamored with this place at the point that I would even move to Glen Ellen and become a volunteer myself at the park. Make sure you plan a visit here if you're visiting Northern California. The park offers free guided or private tours and a variety of events and even hosts weddings. Just browse their website to discover all the activities they have to offer. The link is on the info box. Enjoy the staff pics as city lights. Unfortunately, I couldn't shoot many videos here because this place, it's always crowded. Last sightseeing is a Palo Alto landmark, the Stanford Theater, a classical independent movie theater located in University Avenue. It was designed and built in the 1920s as a movie palace styled in neoclassical Persian and Moorish architecture. The Stanford Theater Foundation is dedicated to bringing back the authentic movie-going experience of Hollywood's golden age. Classic Hollywood directors never intended you to watch their pictures on a video screen in your living room. The magic of the movies depends on a larger-than-life image and the shared reactions of a large audience. Watching a movie at the Stanford Theater is one-of-a-kind experience. One of the attractions is the theater organ, and is played during the intermissions before and after the 7:30 show. And for you curious, the website link of the theater is the info box of this video. And on this last segment, here we are talking about the books I've been renting at the library, which ones I read and which ones were kind of a miss. Let's start with bad news. Murder Most Royal by Sophia J. Bennett. So I was a bit disappointed about this one. I enjoyed the previous two of these series, but this one I just didn't think it had the same energy and the same interesting case, and it was a little slow. And actually I was looking online to figure out what happened at the end because I really didn't want to continue. And I found reviews that had my same sentiment, and I couldn't find actually any news on how this book ends, but I didn't have the time and the will to finish it because I had more interesting reads await me. And as I'm leaving very soon, I also want to make sure that I read the books that really make a connection with me. So I decided to not finish this book. I also didn't finish The Baroness by Hannah Rothschild, and it was a little disappointed. I mean, definitely her great aunt Nika had a very interesting life. And by the way, I've just learned that she is a presence on Clint Eastwood movie Bird, so I might be interested in reading that. But this book was also a lot about their family, the Rothschilds. So I was really interested in diving in Nika's life and learning a lot about her. But it's like half the book is about the family, and then it goes in details on Nika. So even in this case, I didn't have the patience to really dive into the book, into the family's history. And maybe at one other time, I would have definitely read this with patience, because it's also not really like a fiction book. It's more like a nonfiction. So with nonfiction books, I need my time. And unfortunately, I didn't have it here in California. So let's start showing though the books I will be reviewing in a couple of weeks, because we don't have too much time on this video today. And I will be definitely talking about Alka Joshi, last chapter of the trilogy on Jaipur. And this is The Perfumist of Paris, which I enjoyed. And then I read Nita Prose's sequel of The Maid, The Mystery Guest, which was less interesting than the first book, but nonetheless, I finished it, so I will definitely talk about it. And this was a big surprise for me, Gun Island by Amitav Ghosh. It's my first read by this author that was highly recommended to me, and this is definitely not my genre, but it really stood out. I was very, very enticed in the story, in the writing style, so a big thumbs up for this book, and I'll be definitely talking about it in a couple of weeks. And the one I'm currently reading and finishing before my departure is The First Lady by these two fantastic ladies that are M.Benedict and Victoria Christopher Murray. I had read the previous book, The Personal Librarian, which I sometimes confuse with the title with The New York Librarian. But that story, and I mentioned this book already in a couple of videos before, that book really stood out, and I'm really enjoying to learn about this special friendship with First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt and Mary McLeod Bethune. I hope I pronounced her last name correctly. A very special bond between them that really made a lot of changes during Roosevelt presidency. So really, really nice. We'll talk about this book in a couple of weeks. For now, I bid you farewell. I thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you next week with my August TBR, and I have a couple of surprises. See you soon then. Ciao. Happy reading, everyone.